Yeah, good morning everybody. So Rob is now going to draw the conclusions, what we've learned from that. So the current status of Rotorua, we now have a regular monitoring program in place. We have dedicated monitor bores, we're looking at the surface features, and we're systematically with the Regional Council reviewing the data and what is this information telling us. There have been lots of ad hoc surveys, bore use, numerical modelling, example here of a thermal IR survey in the northern, it was all of the Rotorua city was flown. This is shown the northern area, the Ohanimutu area and Kurau Lake. We've been looking at heat flow, how much heat is now coming out of the geothermal system. We know that it declined, how much is recovering. And this is all based around and led by the Rotorua Geothermal Plan, which was introduced in 1999. That's basically the guideline that the status is measured by. So moving forward, what have we learned? Where are we at? The field has recovered from the earlier development. There's no ifs and buts there. Data indicates levels have stabilised, so the geothermal system was here, it's gone up to here, and it's now in a stable situation where use and preservation are working together. There are still changes occurring in the surface features. In the northern portion of the field in particular, recovery has been very, very good. Here in the southern portion, it's mixed. Some features are better than they were pre-closure. We've actually lost 2 geysers post-bore closure, but the geysers that are still playing are playing better. The plan is up for review. A new plan is going to be released in 2018, and as Penny alluded to, the process of developing that plan is in place now and working towards publicising and consultation to develop that. We are experiencing what can't we do, and hopefully you appreciate that this is underpinned by science that allows us to understand what we've been doing. So what are our lessons, key lessons from the closure of the Rotorua system? It's largely recovered from the early development once the large-scale action was taken, which is basically the bore closure program. We know that we need quality time series data to provide a baseline. This is really, really critical, and that's where my career started. My colleagues that I work with, we were seeing the geothermal system drying up, we were seeing the springs stopping, but we weren't collecting data that could go into a court and into a courtroom, and that was the key, that we've got to have good, strong data that's robust in the courtroom environment. So that has led to the establishment of the long-term monitoring programs, providing this reliable data. There's been development of the hydrological models. One of our speakers earlier this morning talked about the development of the chemistry models, the different types of geothermal systems, the different types of fluids. So a lot of science, a lot of effort has been put into developing those models, and these are providing, understanding to underpin management options. If we understand the chemistry and the behaviour in the system, we can then work out our management options. The partnerships, as Rob mentioned, we only learn about what's in the geothermal system by putting instrumentation down the bores. A developer drills a bore, they're really good, they allow us to put instrumentation down so we can get temperatures and chemistry from the bores. If it wasn't for that cooperation between the developers and the bore owners, the regulatory and the scientists, we wouldn't have a lot of the information we have today. Ongoing monitoring is essential to carry on collecting information. As development sort of starts to increase, or the type of development changes, we need to know what the impacts are, so we need to keep collecting that data. We need to be aware of the limitations in our science. Geothermal systems are active. There are changes introduced by nature, hydrological, regional groundwater, climate cycles, etc. like that. And sometimes those changes They are significant with the geothermal feature, but they're within or below the sensitivity of our mathematical models. So we need to understand those sort of boundaries. Where does the science stop and where does nature? And one of the big lessons that came out of this, and I've heard it repeated in 2 or 3 talks this morning, particularly our friends from BEPU, the very strong relationship between regulatory frameworks and development and exploitation or preservation. And that was one of the things that was missing in New Zealand. We had no legislation, we had no rules, we had no rule book to play by. So when geothermal development started in Rotorua, there was no rules to be played by. We now have some very strong, robust rules. And yeah, we both love them and we both hate them because they provide us with quite a lot of headaches. Sometimes they're seen as roadblocks and sometimes they're absolutely awesome because they're preserving something, a treasure that we may have lost. And it's really key that we all work together, the scientists, the communities, the regulating authorities, and if we work together we can identify the issues and we can move forward from there, and hopefully we get to develop our geothermal systems and we also get to preserve them. So thanks very much. That's a very quick introduction to the history of Rotorua.